What's going on is the Wolf, and we are back with another episode of the Wolf Has Spoken podcast, the world's fastest growing podcast, or like Q would love to always say,
universe.
Universe is fastest growing podcast.
Everybody they say it.
We encourage people like you to get 1% better every single day in every single way, and join our 1% community. And I'm extremely excited as always, but once again, I find myself joined by the one and only, right on Q Live.
Right
Yeah, on the right side on QUE. You know, he on his 90-day contract. So went from 10 days to 30 days.
90. We still 2 90s? Like, God,
it's an extension.
But 1% better.
Yeah, 1% better. Big shout out to our sponsors, man. Make sure y'all go ahead shop with Her Fantasy Box, visit their website, and get their products. We got Her Fantasy Box Refresh, Her Fantasy Box Body Magic, Her Fantasy Box Slippery Box, Her Fantasy Box Renew Her, Her Fantasy Box Fresh and Clean, and the ultra famous Yummy. Whatever that means. But I will, you know.
Ideas,
yeah. But with all that being said, make sure you also go grab my books, man. The Art of Accountability and Cheating is Not Cheating, available on the wolfhasspoken.com. Make sure y'all get it from the wolfhasspoken.com so y'all can patronize with the author. I love the Amazon support for sure. But if y'all want to patronize directly with me, then get it from my website, the wolfhasspoken.com. And yeah, let's get into it, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
You got a more interesting way to answer that question? You know, we don't do the mundane.
Yeah, you're
right. Like,
well, so how you feeling to me is better than how you doing.
Fair. Okay.
Yeah, so when I ask how you feeling, it's like I'm legitimately like, what's your temperament, what's your mode, versus like how is just not like a how is your day type moment. It's more like a how you feeling in this moment type moment.
Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah, that's good.
How about you? How are you feeling?
I feel good. I'm recharged, rejuvenated, and excited. That's the best way to describe it. I'm excited.
All right, sound good. As always, you know, we always reflect on ourselves and trying to work on ourselves to be 1% better. One of the things has been kind of like a continuous thing for analysis of me internally has been being a better leader and shit like that.
Yeah.
And outside, like, you know, my wife and the romantic side of that, I just start thinking, zooming out and looking at them in a general sense and thinking like, all right, if I want to be a better leader, it comes down to also just being just a better man. And I feel being a better man encompasses being a better leader and a better son.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, me and my mom, because, you know, we very close, strong relationship. We have strong personalities. At times, you know, we have clashed and had, I don't say differences, that's too extreme, but, you know, we've clashed.
I call them differences.
Fair.
Yeah.
We've had differences.
Like y'all might need to go to group therapy. parents and child therapy.
But similar with my wife, I kind of had like an epiphany, like, no, I need to be a better leader for you and us, and we'll be better off.
Yeah.
I kind of looked at that with my mom because, you know, as we spoke about on the pod before, we're like, you know, men need the sons and men need to cut the cord, umbilical, whatever, stay on their own. I never had issue with that.
Yeah.
I realized
we know you cut the shit out of it.
Right. I took it to the extreme. It's like we gonna cut the cord, burn it, stomp on it, and it's like just to prove like, no, I got this. I'm good, and you ain't running my life no more. I'm running this shit. Like, somebody can tell me anything,
which sometimes is necessary.
Right. Yeah. But there is a limit to it. You know, we don't gotta, there's a point to be, the point can be proved. You don't gotta keep going to it. So I say all to say recently I landed like, you know what? I'm not getting no younger. My mom not getting no younger. Who knows how much time anybody has left, whatever. Why even still try to prove a point that's already been made?
Right.
And now if I want to be a better man, I think that includes me reshaping me and my mom's relationship.
Yeah.
Whereas like, instead of me trying to keep her at arm's length of like, mom, you don't lead, so I don't need you to lead nothing. Instead, no, I'm leading shit now.
Yeah.
And that could be communicated differently. That could be, you know, approached differently, handled differently. And she can learn to hopefully respect over time, but it's all about bringing us together. And we just going this way.
Yeah.
And I think in my past situation, it's always been like, keep you there and I'm going this way type shit. You know, it's like, no, we can reshape the relationship. And that's something I recently landed on. So I wanted to, you know, throw it back at you and see how have you dealt with like,
nothing back at me. Pause.
Throw the football back?
Yeah, pause. Just go ahead. Proceed.
Continue.
Resume.
But anyway, gosh, immature children in here.
I know you are a mature child for saying that.
But anyway, I wanted to give you the floor.
Yeah.
And, you know, for you to, you know, elaborate any type of experience you have with that, whether with your family, friends, or just like kind of, I feel like oftentimes people look at relationships like it is what it is. And if I don't like it, we continue. If I don't like it, fuck it. Yeah. It's like, no, you can, back to communication and people being receptive, respecting shit, you can reshape things, whatever. Because also people change over time. 100%. So we can reshape these relationships.
Yeah, for sure. That comes down to being intentional about knowing what you want to give and like what you hope to receive. Because you can't never predict or even extract what you want out of people, even if you intend for that to be the case. But if you lead with how you want things to go, then you at least put yourself in a predicament for things to go the way you want them to go. But if you don't give that relationship that intentionality, like, damn, like it's an assessment game. It's like looking at it and say, okay, where is the disconnect? And what could connect it? And how am I a part of the disconnect? And what can I do to change me so that I can be, at least the person that's trying to connect it, and then you leave the other space for them to kind of fill in or whatever case may be. But leading with that intentionality, because a lot of people just be on autopilot in their relationships. Like you said, it's like, if it work, it work. If it don't, it don't. And this is not just romantic relationship. This is parent to child. People assume that they have a good relationship because there's close proximity. Right. It's like, oh, my child live with me, so I'm a good parent. We have a good relationship. But it's like your child don't even open up to you. You don't even really know your child's favorite color for real. You probably think it's still fucking red, pink, or blue from when they was 3, 4, and 5, and not really realizing that they 12 and that they got a whole different, and it's like that's where people, I feel like, often miss the mark. When you go into it trying to know somebody instead of getting to know somebody, like, oh, that's my mom, I just know how my mom is. Oh, that's my brother, I know my brother. Oh, that's my son or my daughter, I just know my son or my daughter. It's like, oh, that's my best friend. You always been like that. You eliminate room and space and opportunities for growth and for you to be able to further understand that person, because people grow, and within growth there's change, and within change you have to adapt to it so that there can be a connection. So when you think about being intentional about developing those connections, you got to go into it asking yourself questions that, okay, where can I improve to make the relationship better, and where can I allow space for them to improve? Because if you think of it like this, they always talk about saying like a shark is only going to grow to the size of its environment. That's any relationship. That's a metaphor, but it's literal. But at the same time, it's a metaphor. It's like if you shrink your partner, if you shrink your child, if you shrink your friendships to kind of fit in the box that you see fit, and you don't allow that room for them to operate, there will be no growth. And then eventually, when they outgrow you, they'll feel like you're somebody that they got to disconnect from. See, but when you look at it like, okay, I've outgrew this person, now being intentional from your perspective, how can I go back and reshape this relationship to create that room for growth so that we can reconnect? Or if it's just no room, then that mean that the situation just is what it is. But it all stems from that intentionality and knowing like, all right, this is where we disconnect. This is how I'm a part of the disconnect. And this is what I can do to create the connection and strengthen it. And then I just got to allow room for you to kind of meet me there.
Facts. And to one of your earlier points you mentioned about even with your kids, like people think because I created this person, I know you, I know them. Yeah. And I saw
fucking funny how that just don't be the case.
Right. And I saw a good clip from a parent. They was talking about, no, like I actively, he used the word, I date my kids, where like I go out my way to put us in environments where it's not about me being the authoritative figure or me the dad or child. No, like, yo, what you up to? What you into? Like, what is your favorite color these days? Like, to having this open forum, like, no, we kind of just on the same level playing field. And I just want to be I want us to connect and bond and just get to know each other and make sure we also in alignment versus like I'm directing you and instructing you and that type of shit. I think most times we're in that dynamic as parent and kids. Like.
And I think that's the most disgusting feeling when you've changed and somebody think they know you. It's like, you don't, but you won't allow yourself to get to know me because you're still caught up on the fact that you think you know me. And it's like, if you can identify within self that you've grown, or if you've changed, or if you've adapted and shifted, then why won't your perspective do that when viewing other people? And it's like, even if people show similarities that might, because growth ain't always this big, substantial situation where it's like, oh, you went from this to that. It could be just like somebody might take these little micro steps of growth. And we want to be acknowledged for that. We want to be acknowledged for the micro steps that we take, because it lets us know that we grew as well. Like, we know, but when somebody else acknowledges it, it makes you feel good. But if somebody just think they know you and they assume that they could conclude what you think and how you feel and what you would do, whether it's a parent, a partner, a spouse, a friend, a family member, like, oh, no, you always react like this. It's kind of almost like, in a sense, offensive. You take offense to it because it's like, you don't know me. And it's like, if you take the time to get to know me, we'll have a better connection, a better relationship. But because you've landed on what you think you know, because it makes you feel comfortable to acknowledge the familiar, that we don't have that opportunity to actually create something that's worth, building on.
Yeah, I remember, we mentioned on the show, I mentioned on the show a few times about the saga with me and my dad. And that's one of that was actually,
you don't know that nigga.
No, vice versa. I don't know if I ever said this situation. So one of the other pivotal moments in our saga where we're at now, whatever, is I asked my dad, "Yo, do you think you know me?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "No, you don't." And I didn't even say it as like
disrespectful. Yeah,
it's like no, like genuinely, I kind of always in the back of my mind knew it, but didn't really had the bandwidth or urgency to express it, whatever. Like, no, me and my mom click more, we connect more. My dad don't really know me, but it's cool.
Right.
But I got to a point around my daughter's born, like, no, let's kind of address this. I'm curious. Do he think this should change? Is he aware of it, whatever? And he, as I said, he wasn't. As I figured, he wasn't aware of it. And when I kind of expressed it, whatever, what I thought was interesting. Another thing, we making assumptions. I knew that he probably wasn't going to be aware of it, and he wasn't going to do anything about it. So I remember my wife, she actually convinced me, no, I think you should just express it though, because you never know. Now, you know me. I will not communicate with shit because I already kind of see where it's going to go. So I'm like, all right, cool. So I finally expressed it. And I thought his response was authentic or genuine, but it just wasn't resolution based.
Yeah.
So he was like, you know what? I appreciate this conversation. Because me and my dad never even had these conversations. Like, if we didn't even have this level of connectivity and, closeness, whatever, where I was able to come to him and even express certain things.
Yeah.
And I was like, I understand that. I respect that. But it wasn't like a comma.
You want a groundbreaking.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I appreciate that. And you know what? I'm going to work on that. And I'm going to do it. It was like, you know what? Fair. Yeah. We're better than me and my dad was. That's like, but also, and like, honestly, I also understood that I think that's where his emotional ceiling was because of how his relationship was with his dad, whatever. So I wasn't surprised, but I also understood it. But to the original point, though, I think oftentimes people have those feelings, just like whether it's your mom or your dad or whoever, when someone truly don't know you. And I think you probably, if it's on your heart, you could address it or ask about it, whatever, or just kind of set the tone, just like make it clear that nigga, you don't know me, and like, we can just act like we can put that facade to the side, type shit.
I think that I remember I took my mom off for her birthday a few years ago. I wanted to get to know her. Like, I wanted to ask her questions about her upbringing. I wanted to ask her questions about, like, it's like seeing what you do, but I need to understand why you did certain things, right? Like, what was your perspective on life? What was your experiences outside of the stories we hear and you tell us over and over and over again? I want to delve a little deeper into that because I want to be able to understand you. I want to be able to say, okay, I could see what, like, you know what I mean? And I feel like that was one of them conversations where I talked about her relationship with my dad and what led to certain things, and her just leaning on the fact and saying, like, you know what, son, I was young and I was hurt, and this is why I did what I did, which most men would never hear their mom say. Most men would never get their mom in a predicament to look them in the eyes and say, I was young and I was hurt and I made decisions based off that, versus it just being, your dad ain't shit, your dad ain't this, your dad ain't that. And
she was a woman in that moment, not just a mom.
Yeah, she just kept it tall as a woman. Like, you know what, like, I was hurt, and that made me understand a lot of all of her other decisions, all of her other moves, and in doing so, it made me connect more. And you understand? Because it's like, versus just saying, oh, I know my mom. Because a lot of people only know your trauma. They know your reactions. They know things that you've experienced. They know hardships that you overcome. But they don't know, they might know your heart by way of witnessing certain things you went through and how you handled it. Maybe even be able to identify your character. But in order to be able to get to know somebody, you got to allow room for them to tell you who you are, then tell them who they are, and then show you who they are. And it's not for you to, like, unless it pertains and involves you, it's not for you to discern over them who they are. Like, you can discern how you interact with them, but you can't think that your judgment of them is more important than what they say about themselves, even if you see it differently, because again, that's us interpreting from our perspective. Now, what our perspective and discernment is for how we interact and engage. So it's like, I can see that we ain't going to be a good fit, or I can see that we shouldn't be interacting to this magnitude, but I'm not going to tell you not like this because I don't see you like that. And I feel like parents do it, partners do it, siblings do it. Get to know the person beyond your experiences of what you perceive them to be, and then you can learn the full scope. All right, damn, you are who I see you as, but you also are like this, versus just landing here and being like, there must be nothing else to you but what I see you as.
Right. You know I've always felt like, of course, I don't know for a fact, I never had the direct conversation. Like, yeah, tell me about yourself. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure and certain I know my mom and my dad, whatever, because we've had many different conversations over the time. But one person I've always kind of figured I didn't know was my grandma. And I remember back when I had my, my old podcast, that was part of my like idea. I wanted to have all like my important people in my life on the podcast. One, just out of curiosity or whatever, but also just kind of like a time capsule.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You never know what happened. I got this capture of you in real time, your audio and visual, whatever. So my grandma, I was actually looking forward to it. I'm like, yo, like, me and my grandma, we are close-ish. where I would always spend a lot of time with each other. I've always been with her. I know, shit like that. But I realized I didn't know, and I know things about her history in life. But I realized I ain't really know shit about her really. Like, and I like, she don't know shit about me either, to be honest. Like, so that's a conversation. And I was like, look, and I've heard people say, no, my grandma, she told me this about the 60s and the 40s and this happened. I'm like, damn, my grandma is like fucking old. Like, she lived through a bunch of shit. Like, what did she think about things? What was her experience? And sad to say, nothing. Like, I realized my grandma, what it seems to be, she don't really have the natural, reflective, in-depth way of thinking. Where my mom can naturally have in-depth conversations and go through different topics, whatever. Even my dad isn't as natural, but we've had in-depth conversations. My grandma's kind of like,
I would assume, right? Because of course, I would assume that as in large part in the era she was born in, like the sit down, shut up era, the civil rights movement, all the changes in the world, being a woman. I could see how she might not be as vocal or expressive because she might have learned how to mask and shelter and filter out a lot of her experiences to not even talk about them. So going back to revisit them, I could see how that could probably make somebody be off-putting or uncomfortable.
Yeah, that could be it. Anything's possible. But I also understood that it might be like a personality thing. Cause I realized my uncle is the same way, like her son.
But who raised them?
Right.
So do you think so?
Nurture versus nature? Yeah.
Personalities is shaped. Characters is built. You follow what I'm saying? So you build your character, but personality can be shaped. So if you look at someone's personality, that's like the characteristics of being funny, being charismatic, being extroverted or introverted. That's a personality. You know what I mean? Whereas on the character is more so what they stand on type shit. So if you feel like it's more of a personality thing, that exactly attaches maybe to the upbringing and the experiences, and because you can literally go from being introverted to extroverted. You can go from being shy to charismatic. You can go from being, warm to motherfucking off-putting. So it's like, those things could be shaped by what you go through. So if you think it's a personality thing, then it's probably because of the era she was born in. And then she probably raised her son to be the exact same way.
Yeah, my mom is in the same way. But also kids can be the same there in different households.
Your mom could be the exception. I'm not saying that this is 100% fact. I'm just saying based on your analysis of your conversations with your grandma, I'm saying like, because like when you ask her a question, like how many times do you ask her why? Like when I'm asking a question, the more you ask why, the deeper the question get. Why? Damn, grandma, oh yeah, I did it up. Why? And it might get repetitive and annoying, but the more layers you peel back why, the deeper they get to the root of why it is the way it is. But if you just ask somebody a question, so how was it in the 60s? Oh, it was cool, it was fine. They're going to give you that. But the more you ask, all right, so what made you do this? What made you do that? Why did you do this? What was your thoughts on that? The more you kind of delve deeper into their line of thinking, you make them unlock archives of thought and feelings and emotions. And it's like, that's when they become like that therapy coaching type situation, because now you're extracting real deal feelings and information out of them that would allow them to realize why they do certain shit. Somebody asks you a question, you got to think, and you're like, damn, why do I do that? And it stems from this.
Fair. I think it's also because I don't communicate naturally in that way, where it's like in a coaching or prying way, whatever. Where I'm just because I communicate in a very streamlined way, and my mom's the same way, and shit like that. So I think we kind of get that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. You just like, if I ask you a question, just give me an answer.
Right.
I'm not about to grab a shovel. And, sorry.
Right. But if you really want to get information, though, I think that's still valuable insight on that.
For sure.
One last thing about that though, in that conversation with my grandma, I learned she was a coon. So it's like
a coon meaning what coon's the ones that's like for like the
against black people. Okay. I'm joking, but halfway serious.
I got you.
Yeah, I'm joking because so I asked her one of the burning questions. Speaking of the 60s, I'm like, so my mom, like, when Martin Luther King got killed, like, what was like, where was you at and how'd you feel? I couldn't like, what happened? She was like, that's what happened. I don't remember. But I'll tell you though, when JFK got killed though, I was devastated. I'm like, Mama, what the fuck? Turn the cameras off. Hold on. Like,
this is on the podcast?
Yeah. JFK, like, but Martin Luther King, nothing is a Tuesday, like, fucking coon. But wrap it all up though. I think it's important for because again, like, I'm trying to reshape. I'm working on reshaping my relationship with my parent, with my mom, and I think it has like a certain parent relationship. It has like a tricky connotation on it, whatever. Sometimes some people feel like you can be too close, or once you get to a certain age, it doesn't matter how close you are. Then people don't realize that all this shit filters into how you are with your kids, and I think people need to I think people don't get their parents enough grace, and then they become parents and then want grace.
And I feel like that's the whole thing. Like a lot of times people don't realize their perspective is immature or is selfish or self-centered until they're in a predicament where their perspective don't involve them. And now somebody is looking at them the way that they was looking at somebody. And it's like people think that our parents are supposed to have all the answers. Our parents are supposed to be perfect. And they'll blame our parents for all of the things that they do or don't have or the way they is or aren't in their lives. But then when becoming a parent, don't identify all of the micro things that they might be doing that's affecting their kids in the same way. Like you would talk about how you didn't have a relationship with your dad, but to turn around and keep your kid away from their dad. Or you would talk about how you didn't have a relationship with your dad, but then turn around not being your kid's life. So it's like, you became the person that you despise. And then you would blame the person that you despise for the way you became, when in reality is an individual effort to change that and to break that. And it's like, we talk about these generational cycles, but when people are faced with those decisions in the moment, they choose themselves. They don't choose the generation. They don't say, you know what? We ain't work out, so let me make it work for the kid because it's more important than me. They say, fuck you, I'm putting you on child support. Fuck you, bitch, I'm not taking care of you or that kid. Like, excuse my language, but the fact of the matter is, this is how people end up. And then 20 years from now, when the kid is saying, yeah, my dad wasn't there, how you gonna say that about me? I bust my head and my mom wasn't there. I worked 12, 14-hour shifts to make sure you had everything you want. Okay, this is what your parent was saying. So we talk about breaking these cycles. The cycle is an internal thing. Like, all right, you know what? Let me make sure that I forgive my parents because my parents wasn't perfect. It's like, all right, what were you? A lot of our moms was teenage parents, all types of shit. We were just parents in our 20s. I was a teenage parent. You're a parent in your 20s, going through survival mode, not being able to do certain shit, having to work more, so you missing events. Then you start to think, if you reflect and be like, yeah, you know what, damn, my mom was a fucking 18-year-old mom. My mom was 24. My mom was 27. My mom was going through all this toxic shit. Now that I'm in this season of my life, or my dad was going through all this stuff. He was in and out of this, doing this, they never found this stuff, never had it. So it's like, when you start to realize as a man what manhood is really about, you start to be able to say, okay, I'm not making excuses for the way it was, but I'm definitely not going to sit here and continue down this path by way of choosing me over the bigger picture. And, you know, that's where people just got to let the parents off the hook so that we can actually change the cycle. But you got your parents on the hook that you don't want to hang on when you in the same predicament and doing the same shit that they was doing when they was your age. Shit just don't make sense.
Facts. And to wrap that whole thing up, but I was getting the thoughts together. So I remember when I was growing up, my dad used to always talk about him and his dad didn't have a close-ish relationship. He was close with his mom, and him and his dad always had a disconnect. And like, even once he was growing, his dad died. Maybe he was in his late 20s, early 30s, whatever. He, closer to that point, he started kind of understanding, maybe forgiving him, giving him grace. Understand, dang, that nigga was actually right about a lot of shit, though. Like, my mom was my mom, but I understand that. And I'm dealing with women, and I'm grown. I see that nigga was right. But they just was never, they weren't in sync. They didn't get there or whatever. So I was thinking about this recently. Like the fact that me and my dad kind of ended, currently, not saying forever, but we currently end up in the same situation that him and his dad did, is interesting. That we, even though we didn't get there the same path where we once had a better relationship, and now it's kind of at like a weird spot, whatever, you know, you kind of can't oftentimes outrun your,
I think that's going to be your next
foundation.
Level of leadership for you.
Yeah.
Like when, so for instance, when me and my dad built a relationship, my dad first came home, he was like, it was uttering that, like, I didn't fuck with him. I can't say if it's true or false, but that was like the grapevine, you know what I mean? Oh, no, my son. I'm like, nigga, I never said that. But I said, you know what? He probably afraid to reach out to me. I'm going to tell you why I felt like that. Because I'm like, if I was to put myself in his shoes and I was going for X amount of years and I wasn't in my son's life, only who knows what my baby mom said to my child about me, especially because I've experienced that, you know, being a dad for 16 years and having to unteach my daughter, extract things out of her mind that was put into her mind to make her understand who I am and how I am in our relationship. I was like, let me give him that same opportunity, but he's not going to take the initiative because regardless of him being older than me, he's still a man that probably didn't develop in certain areas because he didn't have to because of his circumstances. So I reached out to him and I was like, yo, what's up? I just want to let you know, like, I don't got nothing against you. I don't hold nothing against you, you know, and I would love to get to know you and I would love for you to get to know me. So what I did was I bought us tickets to the Eagles game. in Landover, Maryland. And we're going to take the drive out there. We're going to talk the entire way up and the entire way back, and we're going to enjoy the game together. Oh my gosh, my son bought me some Eagle tickets. He's never been to Eagle game. My son bought me some Eagle tickets. I can't wait. We go to the game. We have a 3-hour drive up, 3-hour drive back. We have a 6-hour conversation. I'm asking him everything I want to know. I'm telling him how I feel, what's on my mind, what was misconstrued, what was a misconception. Give me your side of the story. Like, what was your perspective of it? And in doing so, it gave me two things. It gave me a clear-cut picture on what my mom was saying and what he was saying, and being able to see it in totality and gauge it in my own perspective. And it made me realize that, okay, my dad is he's not a bad dude. He don't have bad character. He just made some decisions that landed him in predicaments that he just ended up falling to, essentially. And it's like, all right, let me continue to build on this relationship. But I took the initiative to open up that door to let him know that as your kid, even though, because we both felt the same. He felt like I should have called him. I felt like he should have called me. You, my dad, you the one that was going, why the fuck you ain't calling me? Why I got to call you? Then I thought about it as a leader. I said, you know what? I'm going to lead this conversation, and I'm going to let them know what my intentions are and what I want, and we're going to go from there. And I came into the conversation, and of course it get emotional, because when you start hearing certain truths that you wasn't ready for, you're like, oh shit, like I didn't even know that I was about to fucking get emotional and get sad or whatever the case may be. But at the end of it, I knew that we've developed traction and ground towards having a relationship. So now we can have a relationship because we hashed out all of those things. We debunked all of the shit that my mom said and all of the things that you did and didn't do from my own perspective. And you gave me your side of it, and now we can start from here. And I said, can't be my dad for the first 30 years of my life, but you could be my dad for the next 30. And let's start from here. You don't got to come in and try to raise me. I'm already a man. Let's just build this relationship. And whatever I learn from you, I learn from you. And whatever, we build and develop, that's just what it is. And I encourage all men to do that. Like, you ain't gotta go. So many men be just like, fuck my dad, because y'all literally are living from the perspective of what your mom said. And it doesn't mean that what your mom said don't have some truth to it. That's just her truth. And her truth is her truth, but it don't gotta be your truth. Oh, but what about the time that he told me he was coming to get me? You never know what happened at the higher level. You never know what transpired. So I'm not saying that what's happened didn't happen. I'm saying that always go back and have that conversation as a man, you know what I mean, to be able to look, because especially being a man, you want to understand, okay, what did you go through as a man that led you to, even if you did disappear? Why? What made you do that? Was it too much pressure? What was because it gives you closure to be able to say, all right, cool, man and man, we can build a relationship moving forward, versus me just looking at it like, oh, F that motherfucker. So many young men and men would say fuck their dad without a hesitation. But you as a dad, so imagine your dude just got older and was like, yeah, fuck my dad. You'll be like devastated. Like, what the fuck you mean, fuck me? Especially if you're not a corny dude, a nut ass dude. So it's like, give your dad the opportunity to. Some people be like, oh no, but I reached out to him and he told me he was coming. It's like, you gonna get this nigga no grace. Like, you reach out to you, he said he gonna take you out, he don't take you out. Now he everything I thought was about you was like, yo, you'll give your mom time after time after time after time again to curse you out, kick you out, do this. But my mom was always there for me. That's because she had no choice. That's one. And second of all, you gave her time to grow in that space. But with dads, it's like, if he don't come back who you thought he should have been the whole time, and he don't, and always like trying to reclear a debt that you created for him, then you'd say, no, then you everything I thought you was. No, get a motherfucker grace and patience and space so y'all could build a relationship. Even if it don't look like how you thought a father-son, father-daughter relationship should be, just build that relationship with him and give him that opportunity for whatever it is to show you who he is. So at least you know him. Going back to the initial point, at least I can say I know my dad. I know I know what he's capable of, what he's incapable of, based on the fact that I know his heart from our experience. That don't mean I know every side of him, but it just means
you agree.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? From our relationship, from our dynamic, I have an understanding for who I'm dealing with, versus it just being from my mom's perspective of who she dealt with. Because he might have been a nut ass boyfriend, but that don't mean he a nut ass dad. You know what I'm saying?
For sure. And that's why, no, I'll let you land on that end. Yeah.
You had something about to add to it?
Nah, I'm good with it.
I was going to say,
what you got?
That was a concept that was like, one thing I was going to say that was like, I wanted people to just talk about boundaries, right? I feel like that's been a heavy conversation because, not even heavy, it's been a trending conversation as far as in when we talk about friendships. People are like, yeah, but people don't show up, then, that's when I set my boundary. Yeah, look, you need boundaries. Most people don't even understand how to set a boundary because their boundaries was violated since they was a child. And in most cases, it started with our parents. Our parents not respecting our boundaries, which made us not know how to set boundaries. Now, granted, for me, I'm the exception to that because I was fortunate enough to just set boundaries. My mom taught me boundaries by allowing us to speak up, and then they just kind of developed on their own. Like, eventually, I just started to be able to stand on whatever I'm standing on.
Real quick, are all your siblings like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every last one of us. We all vocal. We all stand headstrong and stand on what we on. You know, that could be a recipe for greatness, or it could be a fucking another recipe. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to boundaries, man, be a doorman, not a doormat. And what I mean is, be in control of who you allow into your space.
Run it back.
Be a doorman, not a doormat. Be in control of who you allow into your space, but you don't got to let people walk all over you. And I think that people think they confuse being a good person with a nice person. Nice is people pleasing. Oh, I don't want to offend. I don't want to have a conflict or confrontation. Being a good person is knowing that you mean well and your intentions is good, and you'll never intentionally do some nut shit to, you know, hurt, or spite anybody, whatever the case may be, whatever that look like. So you can be a doorman by saying, all right, look, you can have access into my life, but you can also say this is not a revolving door. You can say it's one entry, you get in, you get out. Or you can say that you coming in and out, but you ain't allowed to step in shit and bring it in my crib. But being a doormat is you just let motherfuckers just do whatever the fuck they want in your life because you think that you have to do that to maintain healthy relationships. The healthiest relationships are the ones that have boundaries. And if somebody had boundaries, that makes it easier for them to respect boundaries. But you'll notice it's easy. It take me 2 seconds to know if somebody got boundaries. Because if they don't respect boundaries, they don't have boundaries. It's like a motherfucker that don't own a car and they get in the car and they just leaving trash on this, and then they get a car and they're like, why you leaving trash in my car? That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Triggered.
Even when you was younger, you leave the water running all day, you leave the lights on, and your parents say some shit about the bills, and now you get older and you start to understand the electric bill. So that's the same thing with boundaries. Like, I can always tell if you have boundaries by way if you respect somebody else's boundaries. If somebody be like, yeah, I don't really want nobody calling me after 10 o'clock. Who the fuck you think you the president? Nobody got to call. It's like, all right, you're somebody that don't have boundaries, because if you're offended by somebody else's boundaries, that means that's a lack thereof. But I can't tell you how to run your show. So if your house rules is no shoes in the house, I'm not allowed to come in there and be offended by that. I just got to abide to it or not come in the crib. And my house rules is, look, man, you can wear shoes, but you can't sit on this couch, or you can't eat in the living room. But if a motherfucker don't have their own space and have their own the kingdom in which they have dominion over, then they don't respect no authority. They think that every authority is a restriction on them that they have to rebel against. And that's a sign of immaturity, and that's a sign of lack of boundary. But if you have boundaries, you can be that doorman and say, look, this is the stipulations to enter in my life. This is the stipulations to enter my space. It don't mean I can force you to abide by it. It just lets you know that this what happens if you disrespect me and I'm cutting you off, that's a result of you disrespecting me. I'm not saying you have to respect me. I'm saying that if you disrespect me, this is what I'm going to do. And typically the best way to set a boundary is you have to make somebody aware of what that boundary is, because you can't enforce something if somebody didn't know what the rules was. You have to let them know what the consequence to that boundary is, because you can't inflict the consequence if you never stated it. And then when they do it, then you have to enforce the consequence. That's how you set a boundary. It's like when you think about a parking sign. It says no parking. That's the boundary. Then it say, if you park here, violators will be told, subject to a fine. That's the motherfucking consequence.
And if you do it.
Then when you do it and you come back out and your car is missing, they fucking told you what it was. That's the way you set boundaries.
That is PPA.
And the way you respect the boundary is not being mad at PPA for taking your car. When it said, don't park here, subject to tow, pay a fine, I'm taking your car, and you still did it. Those are the ways that you can understand, like, all right, I've set a boundary, I've explained the boundary, and now it's time for me to enforce it. And in reverse, it's like they set the boundary and I got to respect it. Or if they enforce it, I can't take it personal. And all that stems back to just being a doorman and not a doormat. Like, you can let people know what's going on, but you don't have to just let them run free and roam free and do whatever the fuck they want. It's just to keep the relationship. It's like, if they don't respect your boundaries, then they're not meant to be in your life. It's really that simple.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that, because I was going to bring it up another time. But like, I think shout out to your mom for that, because, you know, it definitely, those type of things and elements and conditioning comes from the household and the upbringing where, you know, again, like, shout out to Lena, a lot of love in the household, you know, but not many boundaries. Yeah. And, you know, but, you know,
I'm the mom shit, I'm the dad shit. That shit is not healthy.
Yeah, you know, you spoke before where your mom was beating you. You said,
today is the day.
No more. And I always understood that if I tried to enforce boundaries of that nature, I just would have been homeless. Yeah. And I always kind of assessed the situation and matters like, is that worth me losing my shelter at this time?
I respect that.
Yeah, but that's why once I got to a certain age,
I can't say the ass whooping shit was a boundary. I just think I had enough. That wasn't a boundary. You can't really tell your mom how to discipline.
But you did.
I mean, I took a chance though. I wouldn't advise. That's not something I'm telling niggas to just do. That was an exception situation. Like, I think mutually.
But the door thing and the mail thing.
100%. Her not coming in my room, just like busting in my room, and her opening my mail, extreme boundary. I stood on that. You can set that boundary.
All right, I'm gonna reiterate it.
Yeah.
So if Lena would have opened my mail or went through my door out without knocking, I said, "Mom, today is the day." today would have been a day I would have became homeless.
I mean, I was back by law enforcement, though. I told my mom if she opened my mail, that's a federal offense. Like, I don't know why I said it or where I got that info or if it was even true, but I know I said it in that moment and that worked.
And she was like, this boy good.
Yeah. And the room shit, I was just like, look, I understand. And I ain't probably worded like this because I was young. I was just on the tip like, yo, like, this my room. Like, you can't just come in my room when you want to without telling me you coming in my room. It's my room. And I think that was more along the lines.
It makes sense, but not in mom math. But it do make sense in theory.
Yeah. And I also, I don't know if you was like this, but I mean, because you had a car at 16 and all that. I kind of was like independent a little bit. So it's like, yeah, my mom gave me money like when I was younger and all that, gave me allowances and stuff. But by the time I got to my teenage years, I really was having my own money. So it make it easier to enforce boundaries where I'm not calling her for every little thing I need. Because it's like, what do a mom do when she want to get you in check? She start taking shit away. I'm taking that phone. I'm taking that game. But if it's like, I pay for this phone, I pay for this game, like, you're not taking none of this shit because it's mine. Now, if you want me to leave, we can figure that part out.
Figure it out.
I mean, yo, I stood grounds. Like, it was times I would stay at other family members' crib for a week and all that. Whatever I had to do to make it respected, I stood on it. If I'm like, you said you was afraid to lose your shelter. I wasn't. I'm like, I had a family where I can go stay at my aunt crib. I can stay at my sister crib. I'll go stay there until we figure this thing out. And I've done that.
Shout out to big families.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I got siblings and shit. Yeah. So it's a lot. It was a lot of things that I felt like that circumstantially made it better. But
the principle was the principle.
To your point, in the very initial thing, and I'm gonna pass it back to you, was the fact that my mom used to say to us, "Son, I'm not always right." So with that being the case, I want to hear what my kids is thinking. But it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if you say it respectfully, you can say whatever's on your mind. Nigga, I'm telling you, when I went to school, same shit. Like, y'all not about to tell me I can't speak to my mom. I can tell my mom what I'm thinking. And she been up to my school 50, 60 times because of that statement. But she say, look, like, I'm not the parent that just come in here and take what the teachers say. I want to hear both sides. I want to hear what my kids got to say. I want to hear what you got to say, and I'll figure it out from there. And that was the same way in the household. Like, if she say something that we disagree with, we allowed to disagree with. I'm allowed to say, Mom, I don't agree with that. And it's not like, oh, you being disrespectful. I'm really not a fan when I hear parents say that kids are being disrespectful for giving them their opinion. It's like, now I understand the sassiness or the aggression or the certain way you tone it, the combativeness to always got to say some type of stuff. Yeah, I can see that. But just because they have a different opinion than you, I don't think that's disrespectful. And my kids are allowed to have a different opinion. Like, it's like this. The way I look at it, like, I communicate with them the way I want them to communicate with the world. So it's like, they can say, no, Dad, like, I see it like this, or no, Dad, I see it like that. But all right, just be prepared for one of these lectures. Like, we're going to have a talk until we come to common grounds. But it's not going to be one of them things like, you so grown. Like, y'all be misterming the shit y'all kids do. How is your kid so grown? Because they have a response to what you're saying.
A thought process.
Like, grown would be acting out of their age range, but having a thought process, being a thought leader, having your own opinion don't mean you're acting grown or you need to stay in a child's place. I understand when I consider somebody staying in a child's place is when my daughters are concerning themselves with shit have nothing to do with them. Now you're out of, like, I'd be like, mind your business. Like, if this business don't mind you, mind your, it has nothing to do with you. But if it has involvement, my kids ask me, what we eating today? Where we going? Because that involves them. Yeah. But a lot of parents that we eat when I'm cooking. we going where we going. It's like, why does them having a simple thought process
going where we going?
Why does it bother you? You follow what I'm saying? Whereas though, and this could help somebody out there, is like, understand the difference. Now, if my kid asks me something like, that pertains to me, that has nothing, Dad, where you going? Go. Mind your business. It has nothing to do with you. It don't matter. I can decide to answer that, but I don't owe you that. But if she say, Dad, where we about to go? I'll tell you where we about to go because it involves you and you're a part of the process. And I remember one time I was writing down, I got a money calendar where I write down all of the days where I make money, how much I make, whatever. This is one of my things that I do to track my finances or whatever it may be. And my daughter came over my shoulder while I was doing that. Frustrated me. Baby, what are you doing? My youngest daughter, back up. Like, this is not your business. Look, if we about to leave out and go do something, you can ask me. But don't walk up to me and see what I'm doing. Look, don't do that. That has nothing to do with you. I don't even know what attracted you over here. Maybe you curious. If you want to know, ask from a distance. Dad, what you doing over there? And then I'll allow you to know if I want to share that with you or not. Versus you just inviting yourself into my space, looking over my shoulder and trying to figure out what I got going on. So it's ways that you can.
Yeah, I was wondering, was that a teaching moment as well? Like,
it gotta be.
Like, no, I'm saying, like you said, it was her approach that kind of threw you off.
Yeah.
But because let's say she's from a distance and say, hey, Dad, what you doing? Oh, this is how I track my finances.
Yeah, she was curious. And I did end up telling her that. It was the fact that she invited herself. And then I checked her. Then I told her what I did it and why I did it, whatever the case may be. But like you said, if she would have just said, even if she'd have walked up and asked, Dad, what you doing over here? I wouldn't have been as off-putting as the fact that she just walked up and was just like, no questions, no nothing. It's like, what are you doing? Back up. But yeah, when y'all misterm what y'all kids is doing, y'all teach them to shut down. Yeah. Like, y'all be like, yeah, my mom didn't give me a voice. Do you give your kids a voice? My dad felt he knew it all. Do you approach parenting like you know it all? So we got to start being able to assess the things that we do as individuals, as parents, that might have our kids saying the same shit about us that we said about our parents, making the same rap songs. You get what I'm saying? Like making the same poems and saying that they going through the same trauma. And it's like a lot of that shit don't be trauma. It just be upbringing. Like a lot of people stuck in victim mindset and they look at their lives from a victim perspective of, oh, this is all the shit that I went through. But who did it make you in the process? You're not even allowing what you went through to shape you because you keep looking at it like something that was sent to break you, but not digging that if it did break you down, it built you to be who you are. And if you love who you are, you can't say that you hate what you had to go through to get to where you at. So dissociate from that trauma. Go from a victim to a survivor, because currently, if you're watching this, you undefeated. That means you've overcame everything you went through. So why are you still allowing that to hover over you like it's a victory? You understand what I'm saying? Like, why are you allowing that to hover over your life as this big traumatic experience? It was taught to teach you something. It was sent to teach you something. And the only way you're going to be able to accept that is when you look at it as something you overcame versus something that halted you, something that stopped you. No, it was something that shaped you. You know what I'm saying? The process of becoming a diamond ain't the most simplest process. It gets crushed. It gets refined. It gets fucking processed over and over and over again for it to become what we all like, love, and find ourselves attracted to. So if you like love and find yourself attracted to yourself, then you have to like love and accept the process that you went through to become you.
Yeah, you know, like you say, you can't get a diamond without the pressure. And I also say don't dwell on the past. You can reflect on the past, because that dwelling shit. Yeah. But to that point you mentioned about what you went through, I often hear women say, you know, especially if a breakup happens or if it's not amicable, like, he took the best years from me, this and that, and I was always, I recently thought about, but why you don't also acknowledge that he also had the worst years from me as well, though? Like, there's a whole process of relationship, and it's like, yeah, look, so your best self was in this time. Okay, cool. But I'm sure your worst self was there as well. He had to deal with all that shit as well. And I think we've had different conversations about this, where it's like, people don't give the credit in a relationship to like your down seasons and the good shit, but also just that man or that person that deal with all of you.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just use the
when I talk about your highlight reel.
Shit, like, it's like, he took my best years. It's like, yo, I'm sure there's some shit in there though. And it's like, just the audacity or like the delusion of people's reality of like not understanding that, you know, you ain't perfect either.
Yeah. And it's funny, man. Another thing, man, like, you know, like often men tend to feel like, you know, women often be overly critical. And that's a fact. That's the truth. Women, y'all can't deny the fact that y'all could be overly critical, right? But then it made me start to assess and realize, I'm like, but for them to be overly critical over men, you got to understand how overly critical they are over themselves. Think of how much they strive for perfection in a world that don't ask them to be perfect. They strive to have a perfect makeup. They strive to have the perfect eyelashes, the perfect hair, the perfect bodies. You know what I'm saying? And then they want to carry themselves in a way that perceived to be perfect. So if you got somebody who sees the world that it should be perfect and there's always something that need to be improved, imagine how they going to see you as they nigga. They're going to be looking at you under the same microscope. You can always be doing this. You can always be doing that, because where men can find contentment, often they're going to find something to complain about. And when you kind of accepting it don't mean you agree with it. Accepting it don't mean you tolerate it. Accepting it means you stop complaining about it as a man and start realizing that they are wired like that. Like, if you show me your mom that don't complain, a grandmom that don't nag, a girlfriend that don't criticize, if you show me any woman that don't fit in these categories that he sees, right?
Never seen it.
Then I'll be like, all right, nigga, complain all you want. But I can't identify a daughter that don't do it. Like, it's all, if they're going to talk about the things they need to improve within themselves, or they're going to talk about the things you need to improve with you. And it's not conducive, because as men, we love to be challenged, but only if the challenge can be accomplished. Like, we want to play games that's challenging on Madden, on Hall of Fame, because we want to challenge, but we want to be able to defeat the challenge to feel accomplished. We don't want to challenge. Nobody want to play a game they can't beat. So the counter effect to that is when they feel like they could never be enough for the woman that they're trying to become enough for. They're in the beginning, it's like, all right, here's a challenge. Like, I'm better than myself. And after a while, I was like, damn, what the fuck? Enough is never enough. Never enough dates. Never enough communication. The sex is never good enough all the time. It's like, damn, what the fuck am I even doing this for? So the two sides of the coin that I'm explaining is, from the male side, is understanding that there's no woman you're going to find in this world that's not going to complain or condemn or criticize, because she does that to herself. Anybody could do something to themselves, they don't give a fuck what they do to you. And then from a woman perspective, understand how much of your complaining, your criticizing, your condemning can be affecting him to make him check out of it. I don't even like. I want to look forward to talking to you. I want to look forward to. That don't mean I'm always going to be pleased in every moment. It's just I want to look forward to it. I want to be. If I go away for 2 days, when I come back, I'm excited to see you. I don't want time away from you to legitimately feel like a vacation where that's the only time I can get peace of mind. And the only way we can have those type of moments is if you understand that. Don't criticize, but you can be constructive. You can say things that can help a man become better, and don't complain and condemn. You can literally, just find other ways to pour into a man, and that's where that self-love come into place, because it's easy for a woman to nurture us as men when they have that softness within themselves, that nurturing, that understanding within themselves. It's easy for them to be like, yeah, I get it. But, and as men, it's easy for us to accept them and their lack of when we have patience. Like, you know what? If I realize that this all women, is like, why am I about to condemn her for doing some shit that's naturally what all women do? Now, this is where we get detailed with it. What am I willing to tolerate? Like, if you're going to complain about some shit, what is it going to be about? Do you complain that I play the game too much? Or are you complaining about some shit that it's just like you disrespecting my character type shit? And it's like, having these deciphering factors is how you will know, like, all right, all women going to nag, but I don't got to tolerate this level of nagging. Going back to the doorman and the doormat. This is me as a doorman letting you know that I'm not about to be a doormat. But at the same time, in the reverse of it, I'm not going to try to get rid of every woman that does what women do. They're just who they are.
For sure. And I feel in that discernment, it'll show that regardless, before you get to like what they're complaining about, is she even fucking worth hearing anything complaining for? It's like then you can get your filtering systems on. Like, who am I taking complaining from? Then from this pool right here, what you doing?
And that's one of the main things as men that we have to do. We are visionaries. Literally, we have foresight. Literally, we can look down the road with clarity and see a picture, and then we can go back and create that picture, right? So in doing so, when you see your picture with clarity, you need to be able to identify to the T your personality type, your language of love, giving and receiving, your language and your level of tolerance for certain things in the areas you want to grow in, so that when you get a woman, the amount of patience required to have the woman is the same amount of patience you'll give to building a business, developing a real estate project, to motherfucking getting good at a game or becoming good in sports. You give it patience because you see the potential. But if you don't even know what you want, then you're going to take every woman, and then now they taking a beating on your mental because you didn't realize that you couldn't deal with a woman that was like that. So this doesn't mean it's like, oh yeah, I don't want to deal with these type of women, condemn them all. It just means that when you know yourself, you start to filter it out in the dating process. All right, cool, we not a good match. I mean, you ain't gonna be a good match for somebody, but you're just not gonna be a good match for me. And the closer you get to that, the easier it is to find that woman that's worth going through the turmoil. It's like, it's because it's not going to be fucking peaches and cream, but as long as these twos don't turn to 10s, we good.
You say we was at 50? Yeah. Want to land it, or you got one out? Or you got something on your mind?
I don't have nothing particularly. Do you got anything?
Yeah, I got a little quick, John. So I got to put on my feminist hat real quick. Enough of the woman smut. Feminist time. I
think I did a good job of navigating the smut for both. Essentially, like I made sure to talk about some development.
My feminist is rubbing off on you.
No, it ain't. I just thought both perspectives was necessary.
Very rare. Black women often say they aren't protected by black men. And I've even heard the deeper point where it's like, what is there to fear outside of men? No,
let's keep it, because we talked about that second half of it, but let's keep it streamlined.
Yeah, I'm keeping it together. Yeah, so I believe women. So when you think about them not being protected, what are your thoughts in regards to that?
So you saying that you believe that black women aren't protected by black men?
I believe they believe that.
Okay. So you're a black man. You have a mom, you have a daughter, you have a wife. Somebody beating the shit out your mom when you see her, if you right there, what you gonna do?
Want me like convict myself here?
What if a man is beating your mom in front of you?
I'm killing him.
If a man is beating your wife in front of you, what are you doing? If a man is beating your daughter in front of you,
kill him.
Okay, so we got 3 black women and 1 man, and you're willing to risk it all because why?
I love her.
And that's your responsibility, and that's what comes with the territory, right? So to that theory alone, I don't think there's no man watching this video right here, right now, that wouldn't have those or similar responses to some type of conflict resolution to whatever he see it to be if he see a woman he love in danger. So that eliminates that theory right then and there. There's no way a black man won't protect a black woman if every black man watching this will tell you that they will protect a black woman that they love. I'm going to tell you where the lines get blurred. Often in corporate spaces, women feel like they're not protected. But in more times in corporate spaces, women have higher positions than men. So whatever that looks like, we don't even know. That man don't have the authority to do whatever you say needs to be done, to speak up and fight for you. You can speak up for him because you have a higher position than him. But that's not the same. That's not protection, essentially. Another thing is black women, or no, women in general, find themselves with an abusive partner. This is the person that's supposed to protect you, but you're dealing with somebody that's not protecting you, actually putting you in harm's way. Then where you become his protector is you don't tell the men that love you because you want to essentially protect them from doing something to him. And now you protected him essentially. So it's no line of communication. So now you're suffering from this abuse and nobody even notices transpiring because the person you're dealing with who's supposed to protect you is not protecting you. And the person who would protect you, you want to protect them as well as in protect the situation because you don't know if you're done yet. So that's where it really comes. Then they are associated with being cheated on. So it's not that black men don't protect black women. It's that a lot of it is those muddy waters of in that corporate space. And then the other part of it is them supposed to be protected by the man that they with, but they not being protected by the man that they with. So they feel like, no, that nigga you with don't protect you. But even if that nigga you with and y'all got your little fights and feuds, he still ain't gonna let somebody else come do something to you. So I say it's a slippery slope, and it's not saying that we condone or saying abuse is okay. I'm saying that that's just a bullshit thing that society has put on people in general and tried to make it a narrative, and it's fucked up because our women believe that. But it's like you could ask any black man walking this earth, and he'll tell you from the rip. In what situation don't a black man protect a black woman outside of domestic shit that typically doesn't involve the extended family? So it's like, and what time do a nigga be like, yeah, I'm just. And it's like, if you see some random shit going on, it's not that people will mind their business, but in most cases, it just goes back to that domestic shit where it's not enough clarity or understanding, but that men will at least intervene. Yo, chill. But it's like, that's just a card I feel like get played in a sense to kind of make motherfuckers feel like it's more that could be done. But then when you ask, well, what more could be done? There's no answer to that. You know what I'm saying? And if you out here and you watching that as a man, even when I talk to my daughters, I say you don't never deal with a man that puts you in harm's way, or a man that endangers you, or a man that put his hands on you. And that's important because it's not just about if a man put his hands on my daughter. It's also about if he put himself in predicaments while you there that can also put you in harm's way. So don't put yourself around. That's the only thing I ask of you. I can't tell you what type of boys to like, can't tell you what type of boys to be attracted to as you get older. But if you see these things, that's something, that's a pure and direct indication that this is not somebody that's even going to be capable, because if a motherfucker put himself in a certain predicament, he's already a liability in your life, essentially. And that's just the fact of the matter. True protection is prevention. True protection is being able to say, because you keep your kids, your mom, and your fucking wife far away from any type of situation. So when you really care about a motherfucker, you wouldn't even put them in that type of predicament. And that's something that I make sure that I harp on when I'm talking to my daughters, or whatever, or even any woman that I care about. But all that black men don't protect black women shit, I just think to debunk that, it's just come down to it's bullshit.
Yeah, no, honestly, I agree with all of that. And I think at the end of the day, black people, us as a race and culture, we often fall susceptible to just like, to be honest, just say frankly, the white supremacy games.
Media manipulation.
Yeah, media manipulations, white supremacy games of like divide and conquer, have us these fucking,
unfortunately,
yeah, all this shit. And even we mentioned the 9-to-5 shit. All the time when I see people, when black women talk about black men, this and that, they don't realize they're conflating us with white men. And it's like, you know, like I said, most
and your husband can't come up and fuck your boss up because then you out of a job.
That too. But even when they say like, yeah, man, it's the wage gap and this and that, men got jobs, I promise you, ladies, most of y'all got better jobs than the black men for like you looking at that white man and thinking like the nigga that's the janitor is the same shit as your fucking boss or whatever. Like you said, like just because that nigga is there don't mean he has the same,
he don't have that level
proximity to power or authority or whatever. And as again, we see all the stats, black women got all the degrees and jobs, but then when it comes to like these nuanced conversations, it's like, why the fuck y'all ain't doing? It's like we just say y'all got all the degrees on jobs, or whatever. So, but it's the white supremacy games that's muddy in the waters, or whatever, 100%. And just having us look at each other crazy.
It's unfortunate because I really can't name a black man that wouldn't protect his mom, sister, daughter, niece, cousin, aunt, girlfriend. I don't know. Like, I don't know a black man that wouldn't. Like, we could interview a million of them. I can't see a black man existing and saying like, yeah, I'm gonna just let somebody do whatever they want to my mom, sister, daughter, niece, whatever. Like, I don't see that being a thing. But it comes down to like just clear cut, and it's like, you know, women like to deploy niggas like the army. Like you want to call a nigga when you think it's convenient. Oh, bro, I'm gonna call my brother. It's like now you are essentially putting him in a situation that he didn't sign up for, and that's not okay. Especially because you're doing it just to your benefit versus it being like a real situation where it's like, because if it really get that deep, you wouldn't have to call your brother. It'll just be type time. You feel what I'm saying? Whatever is on. So if you feel like you got to play that card, then you know you're playing a mind game, and that's just not okay.
Or like to like I think that, like you said, back to the domestic shit in the middle of the street, or it's like And again, if you the type of dude that want to get involved in everything, that's cool, whatever. But it's like, just because a person that don't know you, like you said, you mentioned your mom, wife, and daughter. That's different from a lady over there. I don't fucking know, bro. Like, so now again, some people do just operate that 100%. Way where it's like, no, certain shit I have around me. I think that's cool.
But percentage of people.
But like, yo, again, as an only child, nigga, like, if I don't know you for a man or a woman, like, I oftentimes mind my fucking business, unless it's just crazy shit. Like, some wild ass shit.
It is still a level of you that you're not about to just jump into the middle or something, but if it's like some extreme shit, so that's my point. Like, like, that's my point. And I think that it gets lost in translation because of those games and people. I think that they don't understand the husband that's in the house versus the man that's at the job. And it's like, your husband, that's his duty, that's his job, that's responsibility, but he can't even handle your work issues the way that you think they should be handled because your boss is getting on your nerves. It just don't work like that, because if he do, then you'll be the same one being mad at him saying he lost you your job. So it's just like, let's just like eliminate that whole conversation and go back to understanding that because we love each other, black women protect black men a certain way, and black men protect black women, in the reverse, black men protect black women a certain way. And then just to remove color in general, men and women just protect each other in a certain way. But if we keep this fucking at each other next situation of who don't do this, who don't do that, then we negate all of the things in a way that we do connect and come together very well. You know what I'm saying?
Want to land a plane there?
Yeah, we could definitely land a plane there. Right. With that being said, man, that was interesting point. You know, we hope y'all take something from today's conversation. Like, reason being because that shit is important. Yeah. And if we want to see people get 1% better, it starts with like repositioning and literally unlearning and relearning the things that we see and the way we see these things, and being okay with having a new perspective, because people will fight for their right to be wrong. And how do we make progress with that? So with that being said, man, share this out.
That's a bar.
Yeah, I always want, as like I said, we always want you to get 1% better every single day, every single way. We don't want y'all to gatekeep this information. Let me go wide. We don't want y'all to gatekeep this information. We want y'all to literally take this conversation to your work, to your job. Take this conversation to your partner.
To your boss?
Take it to your boss. Take it to the group chat. Take this conversation farther than the areas that have received this conversation, because we want these conversations to travel and then bring them back to the platform so they know where to get it from, because we're going to be continuing to build on these type of discussions. So with that being said, y'all already know, man, make sure y'all like, comment, and subscribe to us on YouTube, Wolf Network channel, the Wolf Has Spoken Podcast. Get us on all audio platforms, the Wolf Has Spoken Podcast. Make sure y'all get the network page on Instagram, wolfnetwork.wsc. Make sure y'all get me on Instagram at wolfwsc. And make sure y'all get my guy Q.
Right on Q Live, as in the right side on QUE Live.
Make sure y'all tap in with Ricky B. Philly on any day that's not the 1st to the 30th. With that being the case, man, make sure y'all shop with her fantasy box. Grab some of the amazing products.
Every day between the 1st and the 30th.
No, don't get with them. None of them.
No, I'm talking about her fantasy box.
Oh, and shop with them every day to the 1st to the 31st. Yeah, every day. Make sure y'all go grab my books, man. The Art of Accountability and Cheating is Not Cheating. And yeah, man, I already know, man. Until next time, man. The Wolf Has Spoken, man. We out. Let's get it.
Yes, sir.